You can start.
Okay, thank you very much, President Doctor. Good morning, President Doctors. I very honored for the invitation. I would like and thank you very much, the International Internship University, for the courtesy of being able to share some points of view in relation to safer cyberspaces and cities for women and girls. The International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and global brand confederation, which is the most viable and trusted worldwide and well reputed in delivering innovative programs. Globally, it's a trusted name for a quality training programs, and it is committed to providing better virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. IIU is metamorphosing the conventional education system by cutting down the additional costs and providing access to more than 100 plus courses and internships to their e-learners across the globe to help its 100 plus global educators. In a short span of time, IIU has spread to winners in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. byJorge. In this opportunity, the next, please, we talk about the items can you see in this moment about the cyberspaces, spaces and cities for women and girls. Please, the next, please. Like introductory lines, we talk about the women and girls experience and fear different forms of sexual and other forms of gender-based violence and cities and public spaces ranging from sexual comments and unwed touching to rape and can result in crimes and serious and feminicides and feminist violence against women and girls occurs or a continued form private to public space. So a safe city must address security from a gender perspective and with an intersectional approach that recognizes the multiple forms of discrimination faces by women on their diversity. Next, please. About the safer cities for women and girls, we talk in this case, women and girls violence and discrimination are component by the perception of fear and insecurity. Fear, the existence of the face of situation of violence against them. So then, in addition to being victims of violence, they are also victims of fear, which impedes their development and has repercussions on a broad spectrum of their life plan. In this sense, the perception of fear and insecurity of women and girls is a key and essential factor in the design and implementation and any public initiative aimed at preventing violence and crime. Therefore, beyond that, what a state may establish it in this legislative framework, citizen security and human security has human rights, and with a gender perspective must also include the perception of insecurity and fear experiences by women in order to go beyond the physical characteristics, the public space, and take in accounting the intersectionality in both the way of life and the dynamics and coexistence of local citizenship. Next, please. We talk now about the types of violence against women and girls. Among them, we can point out sexual harassment, sexual assault and rape, online harassment and cyber talking of women journalists, gender-based infanticide and feticide, so-called honor crimes, early and child marriage, forced marriage, female genital mutilation, traffic in persons and smuggling and migrants, violence against women in conflict situations, violence by a partner or ex-partner, and domestic violence murder. Next, please. About the digital violence, we talk about this is all practices to help to the internet, any electronic device seek to cause harm, and they can cause first damage to the physical, psycho-emotional integrity, stress, angst, anger, depression, fear, anxiety, panic attacks, head attacks, and even suicides. And second time, damage in the social, professional, and economic sphere, social and family isolation, self-censorship, and withdrawal from activities in digital media. Please, next. The digital sexual violence is an attack on women. In this regard, we have first, fourth, the threat of dissemination of intimate content. Third, the dissemination of intimate content. Fourth, of interception of communication of obtained content. Through impersonalization of creation of false profiles to obtain content. Sexual violence is also extended to this space, and coordinated attacks known as zooming or some trolling were recorded, which were most exercised by men during video calls with audience by a woman, in which they took control of the video or a screen sharing function to show the group audience some unsolicited pornographic content of even to carry out live sexual scenes, for example, masturbation. Next, please. How digital violence manifests itself? It can be seen that it's through different modalities. Thus, we have unauthorized access and access control, password left, spyware, tapping, and eavesdropping, and device equipment depth blocking of our access, among others. Control and manipulation of information, deleting, chaining, falsifying personal data, talking photographers, or videos without consent, not necessary of sexual content, and control all accounts of digital platforms, impersonalization and identity theft, creation to fake profiles or accounts, usurpation of the site name or data referring to the person, impersonating someone, includes user their own account to make communications, theft of identified money or property. Then monitoring and stalking, surveillance of hidden cameras, identification of location by means of images, geolocalization in cellular equipment of notifications, tracking, and cyber talking. Then discriminatory expressions, abuse, comments, lesbian, homophobic speech, electronic insults, and discrimination media coverage. Then harassment, stalking, waves of group assaults, messages from unharmed persons, repeated messages, and sending of photographs with unsolicited sexual content. Next, please. Continues threats, messages, images, or videos with threats of physical sexual violence, dissemination of personal or intimate information without consent, sharing private information, expose of identity of sexual preference that generates risks, dissemination of intimate to sexual content without consent, use of information without consent, disclosure or provide information, non-consensual pornography, and disclosure of privacies. Then extortion, blackmail, use of intimate images of personal information as a form or a coercion for sexual exploitation or blackmail. Smear, dissemination of content to conduct a smear campaign, defamation, and disqualification. Abuse and sexual exploitation relate to technologies, hooking for purpose of trafficking and sexual abuse, use of social networks to deliberate, cultivate an emotional connection with minors for purpose of sexual abuse or exploitation. Then affections to channels of oppressions, for example, profile or page deletion in social networks, or Chester online attacks in which a large volume of requires it sends to a website server to saturate in those causes it will become inaccessible, distribute to denial or a severe attack, demand usage restrictions, among other. Finally, omissions of the part of actors with regulatory power, allowing the dissemination of messages, images, or videos with threats, physical or sexual violence. Next, please. Thanks. Women program is the important program the nations units. We have they have the data generate, but the 2020 report show a context of widespread and systematic sexual harassment and violence in public space. Guatemala City, 100% of the women who participate in a study reported having experienced some form of sexual harassment during their lifetime. Quito, 91% of women have experienced sexual harassment and public space in their lifetime. Montevideo, 84.5% of women between the age of 18 and 44 report having experienced sexual harassment in public space at least once a lifetime. Medellin, 60% of women perceiving Medellin as a safe city. Alto, 96% of women report having experienced harassment in public space at some time in their lives, and 77% felt fear in public transportation. Next, please. The institutional violence is a trouble additional, no? In some countries of the region that show that sexual violence by police, military, or other security agents is already a significant trouble. For example, in Mexico City, it has been reported that there are 2, 4, 5 open investigation files for sexual crimes, committed by agents of different police institutions belonging to public and or private corporations. Evidence shows that women in marginalized situations are higher risks of suffering sexual violence and authoritarian abuse. Women with disabilities, women with unstable housing, LGBTIQ women, and migrant women. Next, please. Thanks. We talk about the free and autonomous mobility. Fear, crime, and violence of sexual nature in public spaces are strongly gendered and racially impact women's freedom or a movement that deny them the same rights and opportunities to occupy cities. The men enjoy the strongly generated by gender and races, impact women's freedom of movement and deny them the same rights and opportunities to occupy cities that men enjoy. Many cities have implemented strict guarantee or quarantine conditions with movement restrictions and in some cases gendered mobility limitations. These measures may further develop women's perceptions of insecurity and public space and reduce their freedom or movement where restrictions are gradually lifted. The regulation of movement in public spaces has had gender basis and undertime consequences in Latin America. For example, in Panama, Peru, and Colombia, it was established that women and men could live their summers on alternative days, which led to crowds of food supply points when it was women turn to go out. The situation increased women vulnerability to these situations, increase their vulnerability to contagion. Thus, different the original purpose of the measure. The regulation also propose or poses additional challenge for trans of non-binary gender identified people who were more exposed to discrimination and violence from police forces, even when their protection was officially decreased and was done in Bogota, in Peru. Next, please. The global flagship initiative, Safe Cities and Safe Public Spaces for Women and Girls. Several states made the gesture of making to committed relate to this use. In this sense, we talk first time the identification and appropriation of solutions relevant to the local context and population. We have Montevideo, Uruguay, creation of the sex disaggregate data. Guatemala City, Guatemala, this is not inclusive intervention with diverse community. For other time, comprehensive laws and police. We talk Manila, City Ordinance to prevent sexual harassment in public space. New York, law to stop sexual harassment in the workplace. Quito, Ecuador, care protocols to ensure women's safety on public transportation. In Canada, culturally appropriate care services for indigenous women. In Mexico, mobility regulations have addressed women's safety. Next, please. About the safe and economic viability of public spaces, we talk India use of women safety audits in safe public space. Egypt improving public transportation for women and girls. New India, Papua New India, used to safety audits for women in safe public space. About the transformative gender and social norms, we talk Medellin, changing social norms at multiple levels. Mexico City, a municipal champion for the prevention of sexual harassment in public space. Morocco, community organized interventions with diverse audiences. Mozambique, youth agents of change and prevention in schools. Kenya, involving men and boys in the prevention of sexual violences in rural areas. Next, please. About the strategies for ending violences against children, we have among the main strategies, the following should be noted. Implementation and enforcement of laws, norms and values, safety in the environment, fathers, mothers, and carers and supported, income and economic empowerment, response of care and support services, education and life skill. Next, please. The strategies for changing violences against women and public space, we talk in this regard, it should be noted that diagnosis to identify context appropriate interventions with a gender perspective, develop and implement comprehensive laws and police to prevent and effectively response to sexual violence and public space. Invested resource in the safety and economy sustainability of public space, change attitudes and behaviors to promote the rights of women and girls to enjoy public space free of sexual violence. Next, please. The urban environment as a restrictive space, keys variants for women inclusion in the city. At this point, it's important to consider daytime and nighttime use of public space, the importance of visibility, our urban infrastructure and equipment, safety, different perceptions, women participation in a public space, mobility with a gender perspective, violences against women and girls and public space. Next, please. Thanks. In this item, within principles for promoting, respective, guaranteed, and protecting the rights of children and adolescents. Definitely the specific principal themes gives another theme. Those we have best interest of the child, focus on the rights of children and adolescents, non-discrimination, life, peace, development, and survival, to be heard, participation, interculturality, inclusion. Please, next. Progressive autonomy, co-responsibility of families members, society and authorities, transversality, dignity, differential and speciality approach, maximum protection, dignify and preferential treatment, no revictimization, a treatment with respect and dignity. Next, please. Violence against the most vulnerable women. In this, essential to understanding this group as a priority. Those we have indigenous women, girls and adolescents, elderly women, displaced women, migrants and asylum seekers, women with disabilities, paid domestic workers, LGBTQIQ+, deprived of their freedom, feminicide violence, even intentional homicides and suicides, and disappearance of girls and women. Next, please. About the inappropriate content for children in cyberspace, in these points we can appreciate respected content risks when the child is exposed to unwanted and inappropriate content. This may include sexual, pornographic, and violent images. Some forms of advertising racist, discriminatory, or hate material, and websites that advocate unhealthy or dangerous behavior, such as self-harm, suicide, and anorexia. Respect to the contact risks, we talk when a child engage risks in communication such as with an adult who seeks inappropriate contact or targets a child of sexual purpose, or with individuals who attempt to radicalize a child or persuade a child to engage in unhealthy and dangerous behaviors. Finally, the behavioral risks when the child behavior in a way they contributes to risks content of contact. This may include children writing or making hateful materials about other children, inciting racism, or posting of distributing sexual images, including material they themselves produce. About the risks to which children are exposed. In this way, we have ICTs as a means to propagate and amplify pre-existence forms to aggressions. The same topic, I show myself, therefore I am. The loss of control of self-imaging, and finally, parents who control more than they show criteria of care. The next, please. And the fundamental rights to may be violated. No? Its point is important for relation with the theme in this opportunity, the fundamental rights. No? The violation of fundamental rights in the violences against children and women is a matter of concern. In this sense, life, we talk life free of violence. This means that you can use digital spaces safely. Then to one imagine, it implies deciding freely about the way in which you show yourself in front of others and not begin bothered and disturbed by it. To privacy, it implies the free develop your personality and of the essential aspects that constitute your identity. To honor and dignity, it means that your dignity, merits, and qualities are recognized and respected. To provide freedom of expression, access to information, you may seek, receive, and disseminate information and ideas of all kinds through and procedure or means of communication. You must not be attacked because of your opinions or because of the information you receive, inquire about, or disseminate. Access to justice, you may go to impartial courts or tribunals to clarify the facts and responsibilities for acts that violate our rights. Personally, integrity, that your physical, psychological, sexual, and moral integrity be respected. Internet access, that you have universal access to the servers with quality and integrity under the principles of openness, decentralization, and neutrality under equal conditions, pluralism, non-discrimination, and privacy. Next, please. That conclusions, we have the use to safer cyberspaces and cities of women for women and girls requires the political will on the states, but it also requires the participation and commitment of the private sector, parents, finally, all individuals. It also implies a more thorough study, since the current reality in which it manifests leads us to consider urgently turning into what is happening in virtuality, that is, with intelligent technologies, more intelligent and future technologies. It is essential to understand that interdisciplinary contributes to the better understand and approach these situations. This is the understanding that the problem that embraces cyberspaces and safer cities for women and girls does not begin or end in the war of love. Finally, like suggestions, we talk, it requires awareness, training, and specialization of the main actors, at least those involved in the administration of justice. It's essential to embrace a view in a factor the fundamental rights of women and children in order to be in tune with the imperious and urgent need that such scenarios imply. It's also essential to guarantee the participation of experts in the various sciences and disciplines of human knowledge other than law, in order to achieve the implementation to the corresponding public policy. In order to guarantee women's rights to cities, it's essential to ensure that they are planning them with a gender perspective and ensure the participation of women in all decision-making and planning space. Thank you very much for your attention and opportunity.